Greetings, greetings, hello, and welcome to the temple. I am your high priestess of this temple, Erin Saniva McHugh, and as we enter this temple, I welcome the presence of our highest selves. I welcome the presence of the highest consciousness into this space, highest love, highest compassion. I ask for the divine to hold us in the light today. And I welcome the benevolent teachers and weavers of the divine plan to grace this space, to support the expansion and sharing of spiritual experience and education. This is the place where we witness the work that we talk about. We can be present for the unfolding hearts returning to their true medicine. And you may be called to this space today because you are seeking a connection to your divinity. Or you are seeking a space where you can truly dive into your inherent perfection. Remember how to heal and walk the path of love and participate in the restoration of the divine plan on earth. And so it is. And with that, I would like to also just start by creating a container as we welcome the presence of our higher selves, our benevolent guides and guardians. I call in the presence of Enheduanna and the unicorns to stand in the four corners, the four cardinal directions, restoring all distortions and inversions back to truth. I welcome the divine presence of the beloveds, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And with Mary, we also welcome Mother Isis. We ask that you wrap your wings around us and create a healing crucible for us today. And we call in the sacred cosmic blue flame of Sophia, anchored here in the center of this container, from the highest light of creation, along with the emerald crystal heart flame, the white Christed flame, and the triple solar dragon flame, anchored and held by Gaia. I call upon our dragons today, our protector dragons, to encircle us and watch over this conversation, to keep it sacred and to keep all nefarious scrutiny away. We thank you so much. And I'm so grateful to have my very dear sister, Miss Shannon Michaela. And Shannon, I have known for, wouldn't you know my phone died? Like I can't, the name in here is like, you are an ecosomatic practitioner and there it is. That was so weird. And you can just tell me.
I'm going in, just to say I'm also I'm going in and out on the connection. So if I have to switch to my phone.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Maybe you just should. It looks like it's kind of finicky.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Try again.
Yeah. So do you want to, you are an ecosomatic researcher and ancestral recovery practitioner. That is like, I feel it so much. Oh gosh, we need it. We need it so bad. Yeah. Hi. Welcome. What else would you like to say about you and what you do?
Well, I mean, I suppose it's helpful to kind of say, like, when I'm coming from the place of looking at what ecosomatics is, we kind of, this is language that I feel like we've just kind of, this is the language we have, right? For something that's not really languageable in a way, but we're doing our best. So it's really, for me, it's a return to respecting the body as sacred, And it's a return to respecting the sacred body of the earth
Mm.
and the body to body relationship. And my, unsurprisingly to you, of course, like my focus is on our relationship with water and water within and our beautiful waterways and what changes in us when we gather at the water's edge. What is that shift in consciousness that happens when we're present with ourselves?
Yeah.
As an ecosomatic researcher, that's my curiosity is how do we, coming from that priestessing perspective, we're always kind of looking for ways to attune to subtle frequency, to listen more and more deeply, that in a deep way. How do we listen, and what emerges from that? How do we open to these other pathways of perceiving and learning?
Yeah. Well, and being aware of what's happening ethereally with the water too,
Yeah. And I think that for me, it kind of goes straight into this work that a lot of us are
this internet
doing in our, we enter the, sort of that liminal space at the edge of things, whether it's at the water's edge or something else. There's an opening there. There's an opening there to access something that is timeless. It's an opportunity to enter the stream of memory and consciousness.
Yeah.
So that's that bundle. And obviously, coming from the place of devotion to the mother in many forms, and having accepted Mary Magdalene as my teacher a long time ago, and just kind of staying on that path and letting her continue to guide and teach through that listening. So
beautiful.
That's a little big bubble.
Yeah. I'm going to say it might be a good idea to go on your phone because you have paused.
Is it
Maybe
glitching?
you can just see how it is if you want to start that process. I will share quickly while you do that. So I met Shannon through the medicine, as we call it, right? Through Plant Medicine Church. And okay, I'm going to tell a quick story. I was going to my second, what they call them works. They're called trabalhos. This is a Brazilian plant medicine church. And it was only my second work, and I was experiencing mediumship, which I'd not ever experienced before. And here we go. There. Oh, and look at how lovely it is there as well. Yay. Let me unmute you. It won't let me unmute you. Can you? There you go. You'll have to close your computer. Yeah, did you do that? Okay. And then you can unmute yourself again. So I was so in this plant medicine church, like there's often, depends on the lineage, there can be a lot of mediumship, and there was a lot of mediumship going on in this ceremony or in this work. And I was literally experiencing being saved by Jesus because I was in a dark place and I was, like really not really sure of what was happening to me. Shannon will be back. And as I was, internally having this experience of, kind of searching and Jesus, Yeshua, are you here? And every time that I would say his name, I have something in my eye. I was brought up and out of that darkness. And just really like, oh, thank goodness, and then I would try and hold it and try and be with him and be in that frequency. And then I would kind of fall back down and be in this very kind of, for me, kind of a scary place. And then I would, Jesus again. And then, and I would rise up. And that was literally the first time that I had the experience of like, this is what it means to be saved by Jesus. This is what it feels like. And I opened my eyes, and hopefully she can hear me. I opened my eyes, and Shannon was standing in front of me with saging me, right? And just like, you can just imagine like being in a place where you're very concerned, you're under the influence, things are going on that you're not familiar with, there's an energy with you that you're also not familiar with, and it's a little bit unnerving, and you're also having a saving experience. And then from that, opening my eyes and seeing this beautiful woman taking care of me. She didn't know me, but she was taking care of all of the women. She wasn't the only one doing that. But that was technically the second time that I had seen her. She talked to me right beforehand. She's like, oh, you're new here. Do you have a sponsor? And I was like, the Madrina, the godmother leader of this church that is hosting these folks from Brazil. She's my sponsor. She goes, oh, really? Okay. So they do have those, security processes that you have a sponsor. And so she said, who's your sponsor? And that was our first exchange. And our second exchange was her saging me and bringing me back to myself. And I was like, oh, okay. So, we're having issues, Mama. We're having technical issues. We're going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask for the dragons to come in and clear any interference and heighten the internet connection for Shannon. We call upon the cosmic fire to move through the technology to clear all obstacles and obstructions. We'll see what happens there. She can come back. So, so after that, got to know Shannon. Turned out that our boyfriends would live together, and she and I became fast friends, and started doing things at her apartment. She was kind of leaving that church a little bit. She was kind of backing away, having her own process in that. And Shannon basically became my mediumship teacher. And she's trying to figure out tech on her end. And we might have to reschedule her if this doesn't work, or we'll just have to deal with the lag. But sing the hymn that I received for Shannon. But gosh, so we started doing women's works, women's circles in her apartment, her teeny tiny, I mean, tiny apartment in Brooklyn. And that's where I started to process and learn mediumship as well as within the works. But working directly with, Shannon has multiple initiations and initiations in a different tradition in the Brazilian culture. Here she comes. Let's try again. I'm like talking about your history without you, and you should really be speaking for yourself. Okay. I'll let her find a quiet spot. Thanks for being with us here, my friends. We'll do the best that we can. So Shannon is in Ireland. She's in a relatively remote area in Ireland. Can I add you to the stage now?
At the moment, I'm near Waterford, but I'm out in the country. So yeah, I'm literally on a friend's homestead where I'm sleeping in a place with no electricity, and I've just shifted their signal, but I've just come up to a different location on the property to get a stronger one. So it was fine. I apologize to everyone. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm just out where I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's great.
Here we are. This is good.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I love that you're there. I was just given a little bit of history. I'm not sure if you could hear me. But we started doing ceremonies in your apartment in Brooklyn. And I was just saying how you were my first mediumship teacher. And I was learning, remembering the first time. I've been thinking about all this stuff and remembering the first time when something moved through me and it was like this high pitch and it was Oshumare. And
Yes.
So I was saying, and you can take it from here too. I was talking about to step into Ubandaimi and the Orishas and your initiations within that, and how you were able to support me in even just understanding what was happening, or how to develop a relationship with energies outside of you, whether or not you take them in, but even just working with them. We lost your camera. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
That was such a special time. I mean, that was just such a I mean, my God, the as we're moving along the path and we're in the journey and we're learning things for the first time, and we're just discovering what it means to have an aparello, to have to be a vessel for something, and coming from dance, we're exploring that in a particular kind of way. And when I met my teachers in those practices, it was this kind of like, well, I know I don't really understand everything that's going on, but I know that the people that I'm here with, they do. I can tell that there's like deep relationality. There was this profound connection to nature, and there was this very clear method of teaching, that while there was certainly a lot of improvisation going on, there was a clear process. And I think for me that was really like the way we kind of come to our spiritual path when we're searching for our own healing.
Yeah.
And then we realize that we can have support, that we can receive assistance in that process from all of the world around us in this incredibly loving and benevolent way. And there's both the part where we're kind of learning what everything is, who's Yemanja, who's Oshun, like who are we singing for? What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And then there's this like deep, intimate relationship with ourselves that we're having, and that the deeper we go in relationship with ourselves, the more expansive our experience and our learning is with all of that which is around us. So this reciprocity, and I feel like remembering being in my apartment, and like, and I remember that moment. I remember singing for Oshumare, and I had just come back from Brazil, and it was like a new energy. It was an initiation that I had done when I was there. That was the beginning of a 9-month process for me to work with Oshumare in a healing capacity. And so that song, as it came through, was very alive. There was language within it that was specific to this something of another realm, another dimension. And even if you didn't have some kind of direct translation of what this language was, the way that, like, I remember the way that your system responded, right? Your aparello, your vessel completely responded to the notes, to the language, to the presence of that. Yeah.
And so who's Oshumare? Can you explain
Yeah,
them?
happily. I mean, in the Orisha traditions, as I was introduced to them while being in Brazil, which I might not have ever found that if I hadn't gone to that place, and to be welcomed by people for whom this was their lives, and to be allowed, um, and welcomed. And in this tradition, um, it's we're working with all of these spirits connected to aspects of nature, these archetypal energies, whether we're talking about, the warrior in Ogum, or whether we're talking about Oshala being very much like the quality of peace and sky, and many would equate with the presence of Christ consciousness, of Jesus. Yemanja, of course, being the queen of the sea. Oshumare is this sort of lives in liminal space. Oshumare is both masculine and feminine, leans slightly, in my experience and how it was introduced to me, slightly to the masculine in presentation, and lives in the rainbow. And you often have that serpent symbolism and present as well. And for me, that when I finally was like down in South America, and like I think I was at Foz de Iguazu. It's in Iguazu, where they have, this massive waterfall. It's like 700 something falls. And because it's so hot there, it's like the pressure of the water, the intensity of the sunlight, and it's just rainbow after rainbow after rainbow. And it was the first time that it kind of clued it, like, oh, right, the rainbow is the masculine and feminine coming together. This is the health of our system. That's why the chakras are the way they are. That's why it's a rainbow, because that is the sun and the water coming together, masculine and feminine, health and harmony. And I'm like, oh, duh, how did I not get that before?
I love it.
So Oshumare is there to help not only open, but to stabilize and nourish our system. And I can't talk about him without mentioning that there is sort of this companion to Oshumare that's much lesser known, which is Ewa. And she is also masculine and feminine, but leans slightly to the feminine. And she is living in the liminal space of the mist. That's her home. So I love this way that the urban traditions, the Orishas often will present things like this for us to learn and harmonize. And in this case, very much our masculine and feminine, and how to be with them together, and move fluidly between them, even in that liminal space.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually really feel like Awa has a lot of Magdalene energy. I have to say that. It's
For sure.
very much that. She also has a serpent. She's usually wearing a pink dress, and there's a sword and a serpent. And she feels very much to me like a presence which helps us in our sacred sexuality. It really just, feels that support is there. So
I remember when you told us, you're like, guess what? There's another one. Like, there's another form of water. There's another goddess for the water. Guess what? And we're like, oh my gosh, tell us. I remember like being with Alyssa. I'm like, Ewa. And like, and this was after Avatar came out, and Ewa is the name of their planet goddess, right?
That's right.
Or the eternal life goddess, I'll say. And what I really love is using this word, which is such a great word, but effervescence. She is the effervescence, right? Of that almost gaseous, because it's like rising water, right? The mist, right? And those small particles of making it in between the cracks, and like that which falls upon your face, but doesn't actually like get you wet, but it kisses you, love her so much.
Beautiful. So beautiful. I always I think about her, like, again, that connection with Magdalene, and that very much in that sense of like an aspect of the feminine that was kind of forgotten, that was kind of was kind of forgotten, as was described to me, right? As was told to me. Yeah. And to sort of see her kind of come back into consciousness. Also during the same time that we're returning to our relationship with these other aspects of the feminine, just felt very wholesome, I suppose. And also very honoring of the parts of the feminine. I'm sure you talk about a lot in your work, and we've talked about and prayed with throughout our relationship of, she's that moment when the serpent is shedding, and when the serpent is shedding her skin, she goes blind, and she's super vulnerable, but it's the time that she has the strongest vision. And so there's like, she might get a little bit fierce if she feels threatened. There's a little bit of that kind of acknowledging that fierce energy as well, but also really honoring and pointing to the power of the feminine in her vulnerability to be able to see clearly. And to access the direction in which we are going, to get a glimpse of the place that we are going. That's very much the shamanic tradition, right? We go through the veil so that we can see what's good, what's needed for the people, right? That would have been an old way of talking about that, and then bring that information back and share that as good medicine for the people, and to be of service that way. Anyway, lots of words, but these are all good things to remember.
Yeah, it makes me think of what's been happening to me lately with my site, because it's like our gifts are always growing and changing and adapting and opening. And since I've been working with dragons these last 2 years, like, it's amplified my clairvoyance, but it's changed it. It's literally like, I don't just see little blips. I can literally look through the matrix. I can look through the quantum when I'm with my dragon. And like, I'm looking through her eyes because that's how she sees, right? And last night, it was late in the evening, and I was just in my house with my eyes open and seeing the field, right? In my walls. And I'm like, is this the veil getting thinner? Like, what is this that's happening? And I just felt this, like, this is going to continue to happen. Feeling like you're looking through the walls, or like there's a a film over the walls that is almost like Ewa, like that moving, shifting, antimatter that's just like, constantly like this. And I could see it with my eyes open. And it was last night. I was like, Mary, what is happening? What is going on here?
Did you get an answer?
It was just like, get used to it. That was the response. It's like, I'm not gonna, what's happening. You're seeing more. And and this is going to happen for humanity, that we're going to be able to see in between, So, and it's really like, if I want to, I can look at the wall and I can allow my attention with it to shift. It's not like my eyes are going out of focus. My eyes are still in focus, but there's like a new layer of vision that I see, So there's a lot. There's a lot that's happening, and it actually reminds me of the first time that I had Santo Daime, and I was in the forest at Hosanna and Thomas's. And of course, Carlos brought me to a mediumship work for my first work, which is like kind of faux pas for the church. But I was already experienced and had dieta, and, and so with the medicine, and she gave me an extra glass being a guest. Oh, thanks, Hosanna. And so I went out of the circle and was laying in the foliage. And this voice just came in and said, look with the eyes of the medicine. And when I did that, I could see the rhythm. I could see the waves, of the alternate reality around us, living in nature, like seeing the energetic frequency everywhere. And I could turn it on and turn it off. And I think that that's kind of a little bit of what's happening for me now. She did say, she's like, okay, no more ceremonies. Go do what I taught you and do it without drinking,
Well, it's funny that somebody asked me the other day, and I'm here, in the land of the She. I'm here in the land of fairy, one of the lands of the Fae. And somebody asked me if I had seen fairies, if I'd actually seen, this kind of question, and you're like, what exactly are you asking? But I was remembering, this moment where I was like on my very first trip to Brazil, and a friend of mine took me up into the mountains, and it was somebody's birthday, and we were singing to celebrate their birthday, and I felt like something was tapping me on the shoulder, like literally there was a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, there's nobody there, and I'm like, okay, that was weird, whatever, back to, and then I felt it again, and I was like, what is this? And then I realized, again, this sort of oh my God, how slow are you? You're in this beautiful place. You're here with these flowers and trees and plants, and you're here with all of this love and all of this intentional communion with spirit, and there's something trying to get your attention. Maybe you should pay attention to it, maybe. So I excused myself, and I went outside, and I could see in my mind's eye a location on the property, going towards the forest. And I was like, okay. And it was like this feeling of go there, and you're going to go up this hill, and I was getting instructions in my mind's eye, and I resisted, and I was like, no, that there's no trail there. I was over there. I know there's no trail there. I'm going to walk up this way. And they were like, oh, and I walk up where I think I'm going to walk up, and I get up to the top of this hill, and there's a fence, and there's barbed wire, and I can't cross. And I was like, okay. So they show me the place again in my mind's eye. And
They're
I'm like,
like,
okay,
are you
fine.
listening? Are you listening?
Listening. And I went to the place where they showed me, and I was like, there's nothing, here's nothing there. Oh, and there was a tree branch that was hanging really low. And when I pulled it away, there was the trail. And then up the trail I went, and when I ran into the same fence, it had been pulled open, and there was an opening to cross through. And when I crossed through, I entered this little field, and I got over the top of the field, and there was this incredible view. Suddenly the sky opened up, the tops of the mountains, like I was in the sky. Like I had no idea I was that close to some kind of summit of some sort. And in the field there was one purple flower. And I instantly knew that was the home of the fairy that had come to get me. And I just went and sat down by the flower and hung out. For, and I couldn't tell you it's so long ago now, I couldn't tell you the conversation, but I just remember feeling like I was just being downloaded, with the information of that little pocket of the universe. And then it was time to go, and I went back and joined her. But yeah, we how beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't see any wings, but
well, interesting. The fairies, they have different forms depending on where you are. And in Ireland, I don't think they have wings.
Yeah.
They're not winged. They're not winged. The fairies that I've seen here, because Magdalena and I have seen when I used to go up to the Boulder Canyon and sing and call the fairies out and be like, it's okay, it's safe. Of course, there's a road right there, right? It's like, but I'm like, it's okay. And we'd sing to them, and we saw a fairy. We totally physically saw a flying fairy, and we still talk about it. And there were other times where we didn't see anything, but we could feel the presence, and not just of the fairies. And what I'm literally realizing right now, that I think that we felt the Sasquatch, because they're actually quite prevalent in Colorado. A lot of people don't realize that. There have actually been a lot of sightings, but I've been feeling them more and more and more, and seeing them more and more and more. Yeah. So before we got on, you were talking about Kundalini and how Mary showed up for you. Can you tell us about that?
For sure. Yeah, it was during that time in New York, and I had come out of a very challenging relationship, and I'd moved back to New York to kind of get closer to family, and kind of get closer to like my dance community, because it had been such a painful, I mean, we all have these relationships that just kind of take us down several notches, and really those relationships that we get into when we realize how sensitive we are, when we realize the power of the presence of others in our lives, and when we kind of take on that feeling like you can only hear the other person's thoughts, like you can't even hear your own thoughts anymore. And it was a really, really difficult time. And then to have shut down, to not be dancing, like, is really cutting myself off from my joy and my pleasure and happiness in my body, which, like, as a dancer, as an Aries, like, these are really important things for me to be happy. And and Christmas time comes around in New York, which is one of the best times to be in New York. It's my favorite time. I really love Christmas in New York, and I always go to the market in Union Square.
You have
And
to.
right, you have to. And but I was very consistent. There was a Celtic booth. This is before I was coming here to Ireland, and there was an Egyptian booth, and those were the two places that I would go and sort of gawk at. And occasionally I'd buy something like a gift, like Egyptian table runners for my mom, or something what I could actually afford as a broke dancer doing admin work part-time, um and this particular year I went on Christmas Eve, and I was standing in front of the Egyptian booth, and those winged statues of Isis, and a good size one. I mean, I know you know it, but for people who are hearing this, like, decent sized statue of Isis on bended knee with her painted wings open and the solar disk above her head. And I don't know. I don't know how long I was standing there. The guy who was running the stall took pity on me, and he just said, "Oh, I don't feel like wrapping her up tonight. I'll give you a good price." And there was yeah, but like
Bigger.
bigger.
I know her.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the woman standing next to me, like, literally gave me an elbow and was like, "You better take it," And I was like, "I don't have any money." And she was like, "Figure it out." So we figured it out. I brought Isis home, and within 3 weeks, I was waking up in the middle of the night like this, which of course was a little surprising and confusing and intimidating. But it happened, like, one time, two time, three times. And then I'm kind of going, okay, I think I need to learn something about Isis, because clearly she's what's changed. She's what's come into my space.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people in New York City, I went to the Barnes and Noble at the top of Union Square, 14th Street and 4th Avenue, the 144. And went in, and it was Tom Kenyon and Judy Sion's book, The Magdalene Manuscript, that kind of jumped off the shelf. And The Alchemies of Horus, the Magdalene Manuscript, The Alchemies of Horus, and The Sex Magic of Isis. So it's like already kind of afraid to take it off the shelf. Like,
is anybody watching?
Right? And I'm going, what the heck does Mary Magdalene have to do with Isis? Like, this was a totally foreign concept at that moment. And I begrudgingly opened the book. That was how much resistance was there. And I opened the page, and there's a diagram of the Kundalini and the two snakes going up. And I just was like, oh, okay. I guess we better get the book.
Okay, fine.
And as you know, like, I almost don't go anywhere without that book, and it's 20 years later.
Yeah.
That book, that explanation, that invitation into Magdalene and Isis, and into the world of what that vibration and that frequency and that container feels like. Yeah. I mean, I think I was already doing some healing work. I'd already done a couple of, I think I'd already done my polarity training and maybe some Reiki. I was kind of, trying different things out just to see what is all of this. And I'd read Marianne Woodman's book, The Still Unravished Bride. And was a Jungian psychologist, and really concentrated and focused on the divine feminine. And she'd worked with a lot of women who had eating disorders. So she wrote a lot from talking about anorexia and bulimia and our identity with our bodies. And at the end of the book, she was talking about the missing feminine archetype. And this was something I really got, like, it spoke very loudly, this kind of, that moment when you realize that society is structured around the virgin and the whore, that society is structured around the virgin and Medusa, and that part of the reason that we're so uncomfortable and so confused as young women is that we're being asked to fit into one of these, what, you're either one or the other, and
Right.
neither of them is really great. If you're, you know, like if you're a virgin, you're a prude. If you're a whore, you're a whore. I mean, you're just, none
Yeah.
of it's good. And then if you get into a relationship with someone who has also been programmed this way, the expectation, at least what I found in my own life, was this expectation that I was supposed to be the virgin in public and the whore in private.
Mm,
So it wasn't enough to just be one. I
right.
had to be able to play both of these parts.
Yeah.
And neither of them were actually who I was.
Right.
So when she was writing about this missing archetype, that is a whole woman, whole feminine being, that is mother, sister, lover, friend, creator, life giver, that spoke loudly to me. And so when I found the manuscript and was hearing Magdalene's description, right, that's how it's presented, as her words.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a channeled book.
that first part is all Magdalene speaking through. It's amazing because it's like Tom and Judy had that dynamic, you know, they, you know, he's actually channeling Magdalene and Judy's doing the interviewing. You know, and then we also get, you know, and then Tom has a section that helps to lay out, you know, other kinds of alchemical work in other cultures, so we have some context.
Yeah.
And then Judy goes into her own story as well, which is beautiful. But yeah, I suppose just on that very fundamental level of when we arrive at the place that we can no longer hold the contradictions.
The inversions, right? There's such a huge awakening that's happening right now, especially for women, but it's happening for men as well, realizing that they're victim to the patriarchy, right? They're victim to this, you're supposed to be a certain way towards women. They're either your mother or they're your whore, right? And how do you relate to them? And you know, and don't ever look at your mother wound, right? Like, don't ever look at how you were raised to relate to women besides how you are or are not attracted to them, right? And what is that energy that pulls you? Is it something that is an object? Is it something to consume, or is it something to be with, you know, and to know yourself with them? When I when I entered into the relationship that I'm in now, and I saw the pain that he was carrying, Mary came to me immediately because I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to do this. You know?
Incarnate Magdalena to help heal all our brothers.
one of the moments when you were gone, I was like, maybe I should sing Twin Stars. Maybe we could get to that. But yeah, Mary was like, this is one of your initiations. Like, this relationship is filled with initiation.
Yeah.
I mean, all relationships are, but especially facing the emotional baggage that he was carrying from his previous relationship and big things that he hadn't healed from. And I'm just like, oh God, like I'm, you know, like this, it feels heavy and it felt burdensome. And, you know, and the burden doesn't have to be carried, right? Like, that's also the woman's choice. Like, am I going to carry this for him? And I'm really in this place right now too of like making sure that he's doing the things that he needs to do to heal himself, or letting him, you know, do what he needs to do in his own time, at his own pace, which is the most frustrating, the most frustrating part of it, you know? So, how do you feel? This is a question that's been sitting with me. How do you feel about how Mary is working society right now? In this awakening, in the women realizing I'm neither a virgin nor a whore, you know, how do I connect to my own divine self? How do you think that she is, or feel or experience that she's showing up and working with us?
Well, I would imagine this is an interesting question for both of us, because I think we're probably some. I think. Oh, there you go. What I've been seeing is that some of the women that I encounter, um, before I know that they are women who are uh, profoundly strong work in a very material way. They are grounding their spirituality in a way to, I mean, they're not out there, necessarily. Some might be, as priestess, very overtly. Others um, in a more poetic way, in a maybe a slightly softer appearance, yet the fierceness of the necessity to protect, to take care of, and to protect. And so I see women who are working with Magdalene behind the scenes, who are working with the energy of the rose behind the scenes, and using their spiritual practice and their understanding and their alignment with her to inform and guide their service in the world. I mean, so many women working on water issues, people working on peace. I mean, the peace activists, all the way up to, like, from the 20 somethings to the 90 somethings. When you actually get to sit down with a lot of women who are leading and guiding, and putting their energy behind these calls, they're here in this reality of understanding that we're coming from a lineage that we uphold life. Like, we uphold life in the broadest, most loving context. It's not about, and it's never, right, because Magdalene, right, we know Magdalene is there's a seat at the table for everyone. It's never peace for everyone, but
Right.
it's never healing for everyone, but it is we all go forward together, or not at all.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what I see reflected around me. That's how I see it showing up. I admit, and then get to have that private conversation and find out what was behind that, find out what nudge came through in what way, find out that the same streams that are filling my cup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Our faith. But I'm curious, like, I'd throw that question right back to you. Like, how do you see her showing up?
Yeah, I see a lot of women coming into their power. I see a lot of women. There's a theme of decentralizing men. And it's when I started to just like see that, or even just like that phrase, what does that mean? and it makes me, go into like, well, can we remember what matriarchy feels like? Do we remember how to do that? Right? It's been so long and so far away, even while there are, indigenous cultures that are still practicing matriarchy. But what does it mean to have mothers and children centered, right? In the center instead of the man who's conducting, who's pointing and saying, this is what's supposed to happen and do what I say and da 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 da. And whether that's the man, the big concept of the man, or the man in the relationship, the man in the family, right? And in my personal life, in my walk with my partner, there's this this energetic conversation around my own masculinity and how can I soften so that he can masculinize, right? Because I've had to take care. I've been a single mother. I've had to wear the fucking pants. I've had to be the masculine one for so long, even with my former partner, where I was always more masculine than he was, right? The honorary goddess, Carlos, and who's right now watching my children. It's like he's still family. We love him so much. But just like that struggle, like, why am I choosing men who are not like, whoa, because I'm like, whoa, and I am in my own process of softening and being in my womb and being in my heart and not being aggressive energetically one way or another, And so when I work with other women who are remembering themselves, they're seeing how they've been overcompensating for the lack of masculinity around them. And with that, then they're not able to even, rest in the feminine. They don't know what that means. They don't know what that feels like. I think it's a reflection definitely of the last 70 years of the like, I'm trying not to get too conspiracy here, but the feminist movement was supported by the CIA, right? Like, it was actually pushed by the CIA, forcing women into their masculinity in the name of freedom, in the name of do what you want to do, in the name of, oh, you want to have a job? Go get a job, right? And when we look at it retrospectively, we're seeing now how a lot of us just want to be at home. We just want to be tending. We just want to be cooking and healing and making things and taking care of the family and tending, right? That a whole culture drove that out of us. 2-3 generations have now we've arrived at this place where there's this phrase, the trad wife, right? But it's like, what is a traditional wife? No, that's who we are naturally, is holding the container of the home space, because we're the womb, we're the container, and it doesn't mean that the men have to be out and providing and like, we can still create and support the family through financially, and do in this day and age, there are so many things that we can be doing while still tending self, womb, home, children, partner, world, but we have to reclaim the feminine energy. We have to reclaim the matriarchy within us, where we put the mothers and the children at the center, and that's really uncomfortable, especially for people who don't want to have children, who don't like children, I've been a part of circles, conversations with mothers and with non-mothers And the mother saying the children are the most important. And the other people say, I don't agree with that. I'm the most important to me, right? So it's like having a relationship with the life giver and the future at the same time.
Mm, mm, mm.
Where are we going?
I mean, these are definitely the questions of the moment, right? These are
Yeah.
definitely, um, you know, I have like two streams running through my mind, at the same time. I'll bring to light one, and then I'll talk a little bit in the other, and then maybe we'll come back around and we'll see how the flow goes. Um, when you were kind of, thank you for kind of sharing a little bit about your own, that your own kind of looking at that overcompensation, or like the way that masculine energy has come through for so many of us, and you're looking at that in your own life and your own, I'm very like, my curiosity in there, and again, I don't want to lose the other side either. My curiosity in there is like, is what from your experience can you share, can you tell us about what is required for safety in order to do that piece of work? Like, what are the requirements for safety to be able to to drop into that feminine and feel like, yeah, feel safe and feel held in place, so that you can do that part I think that would be valuable for people to, you know what I mean? Like, so that's
Well,
one. You can answer that if you want
yeah,
to.
I
Well,
mean, provisions,
yeah.
you know, provisions. Like the feeling, the visceral feeling that I have when my refrigerator and my pantry are full is
Sure.
a real thing, right? That I know that, oh, my children are going to be fed, I'm going to be fed, we're all going to be, the animals are going to be taken care of, provisionary. Then the next layer is safety. Like I'm looking at, can I take time to rest? Because in order for me to really allow my softness and my feminine energy to come forward, I have to be able to deeply rest. And I think that is not, like, there is not an awareness of that in our society. You're not allowed to rest. It's the rat race, right? You go, 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 survive, survive, survive. But what I've learned, and especially recently with, having a procedure that forced me to rest for 2 to 3 weeks, I was like, oh my God, what, as horrible as this is, the recovery is so painful. I just get to lay here. I get to receive from the universe. I get to ask for things. I get to just be in this place of reception. That was even hard for, to even, it was hard for my partner to show up in a giving way while I was in total reception. He was like, it brought up his own things of how he doesn't take care of himself. And he was literally like, what about me? And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Right? Like, that's literally where I was. Like, it's not about you right now. It's not about you. So there's these ways that we have to be, I want to say have to be, we get to be deconstructing the programs that force us into action while we're always, especially if we're trying to survive and make money and be provided for. And then women learn, oh, the way that you do that is through learning how to receive. It's not about chasing. It's about receiving. It's the same principle of when a woman is in her power, she's not aggressive. She's relaxed and she leans back and is present for everything that's here. That's the yin, right? And so that's also how we do. I was trying to hold this space, for my husband and myself, holding in prayer. This is what we're manifesting. This is what we're bringing in financially. Like, I want you to know the vision that I'm holding so that we can be on the same page. So difficult. Just being in the experience of feeling what it's like to have the thing that we want, so difficult. Almost impossible. So many things come to the surface, all of this resistance, and I'm not going to do that right now. Like, okay, but notice your resistance to how the feminine can help us now. And even you practicing feminine practices or actions, like the experience, just experiencing, being in the experience in order to manifest, right, can bring us that which we're needing. This is the feminine way of creating, the womanifesting, if you will. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm curious what the other thread was.
Oh, it's, said, I heard, like, as long as feminism, the feminist movement, I heard it before you said it. Yeah. I knew that's where the sentence was going. Yeah. And, this is a conversation that comes up. There I come. Because my mom was definitely, like, you're like, I definitely had a very strong, like, you're going to college, you're going to have a career. You are not going to think about having a kid until 28 at least. Like, this is not a conversation, and really feeling like, if I did want those things, like, it was like a slap in the face to the work that all the women before us had done to give us the option. And it took me a long time to kind of tease through that. And I've had a multitude of emotions and thoughts around that. There are definitely, as I find myself in a place in my own life too, where, I don't have kids, I'm not married, I don't have children. I would have loved to have been a mom, just wasn't in the cards, I guess. There's lots of reasons for that, but we'll leave it at that. But I did also always have this kind of sneaking suspicion that I wasn't, like, I thought for a long time that I just wasn't fertile. Like, I really just, for no reason, I didn't have any real proof of that, but I just, I suspected, and certainly had a couple of astrology readings that indicated that might not happen, so it was like, okay, there's something else happening, maybe it's, my father's line completing, these kinds of thoughts, which are challenging to have. It's hard to be in this world, in a woman's body, and think that you won't get to experience the fullness of that.
Yeah.
Side tangent. But the like, looking at sort of like sometimes feeling a little bit resentful that, now I'm trying to learn how to weave. Like, I didn't get to, like, bake bread and crochet. I didn't have those skills. Now I really want them. That kind of stuff. But I suppose I have, like, I have a lot of, I don't even want to say, I wanted to sort of in a way be polite, like say, oh, I have resistance to, but that's not actually how I feel. It's like, I really feel like there are always these forces that are trying to manipulate a movement for their own agenda. There's always going to be these, the people who are pulling the strings around, raising the interest rates or raising the cost of living, right? Things like that. I know people talk about the CIA's involvement in those things. I hear people talking about like, oh, this is great. We're going to get like 2 sets
or
of income,
taxes. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that that's not real. I believe that. I 100% believe that. But I also don't want to negate the voices of the women that were saying, if there's a woman who doesn't have family to back her up and she's in an abusive marriage and she can't support herself, she can't leave an abusive situation.
Yeah.
And that voice, I'm not willing to negate in favor of, oh, it's the CIA behind it. I can't abandon that voice. And for me, that voice is like, it's like the woman who wants to be a pilot and can't be a pilot, not because she's not intelligent, not because she doesn't have good vision, not because she doesn't have the reflexes, but because she has a uterus. And so men decide that women can't be pilots. Like, that's stupid. So for me, that's what feminism is about, is like not stopping a woman from doing something that she has a calling to, that she can excel at, and because she has breasts and a uterus. Like, why that kind of stuff? Or even like looking at healthcare, which I know is a whole nother conversation, right? But like the idea that when sort of this patriarchal capitalist, whatever you want to call the thing, kind of took hold. And we know from all of our priestess work, we're always kind of looking back at the witch trials, we're looking back at the murder of the herbalists and the healers and our lineages and traditions, for men in power, or whatever version of power is moving through something, to exterminate those with those gifts, and then say, okay, now only men get to be doctors, and we're going to put women in stirrups, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Like, women didn't come up with these techniques. We didn't create that. It's the absence of women in leadership that resulted in that has harmed so many of us. So I think for me, that's just like, that's the other voice in the feminism conversation, that like, no, like, I want women to be doctors. I want a female doctor. That's how I want to treat me. And so if returning to some other social,
I'm with you. I am so with you, right? Of course I'm with you. But ironically, like, it makes me think of my grandmother Mimi, my mom's mom, who was a writer and a model in New York City. And her mother called her and said, you have to come home, you have to get married, and you have to have babies. And so I've been working through, while I'm having 2 more children, I'm a mother of 3 now, and 2 more children in my 40s, while I feel like my personal business that I've created, my spiritual entrepreneurship, the work that I'm doing in the world, this is where it should be flourishing. This is where I should be able to give a lot of my attention to it. And no, I had 2 more fucking children, and I say it that way because I'm invoking Mercedes, Mimi, who these last 5 years, especially with the last child, resentment. Like, I want to do my work in the world. I want it to not be a big deal for me to be gone for 2 weeks to go to France, to take the women to France. But it's such a big deal. It's such a disturbance to the cohesion of the family, and it just disturbs everything because my husband can't handle it. He just can't handle it, And so I have to call in all the troops, right? In order for me to follow my heart, right? And I can feel Mimi. We did not call her grandma. She did not want that. Like, she was always Mimi. I could feel Mimi and her like, children. Yeah. And she had four. She had four. And she didn't like her grandchildren very much. She favored the one boy, and she liked me. I was the youngest until, well, I was the youngest for a while, and then there was, more. There was one more. But I'm just really present to that. Like, I had to leave what I love to be a part of the tradition and go back to Omaha, right? And participate in this. And then her husband was an alcoholic and died when her kids were young.
Yeah.
And so then she was like stuck with it. And she, in the limelight of her life, after her children were grown, and even after, her grandchildren were moving along, she was writing plays. She went back to her writing, and she went, and she was, honored for being a playwright in Omaha, but I think about, and it makes me sad to think about all of the things that she could have created and brought through, if she had allowed herself to do that at the same time. And I think that's what is so fortunate for us with technology, with daycare, with childcare, with all of these things, that I can be a working woman and pursue my heart's desire. And I have chosen for myself to create this container, and I'm not out there working a job anymore. And I'm so grateful for that I can provide for my family and even make more money than my husband, and be in that place of, this doesn't have to be difficult. This doesn't have to be painful. I don't have to only be a mom or only be a homemaker, or only, because there's so many for me to serve. And I cannot leave that purpose. I can't.
Yeah. I see you, I hear you, I'm holding your tears. Like, I feel really, like, I think when I listen to, when I have the opportunity to have conversations with younger people, like in their 20s and early 30s, and to talk about issues and these questions about, why are we here? Why are these how did we get to these kinds of conversations? How did this happen? Where are we going? And what you just expressed, like, that's what I feel like a lot of young people didn't get to hear those stories. They didn't hear Mimi's story.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's just because of where we are generationally, because we are the generation that made this transition.
Yeah.
And when I try to share some of that with them, they're like, whoa, like, it hits them very strong, viscerally, because they can feel that. It's powerful what you just shared. It's powerful. And like, I heard my own mother say how hard it was for her. Like, she remembers that moment when she went to stay with her older brother and could have had a job in Virginia, and got on the bus and went back to Connecticut. And she knew it the moment she stepped on the bus. She knew the second her feet crossed that threshold. And she never, it stayed with her the rest of her life.
Wow.
It went with her to sitting. She talks about sitting at home with her 3 little kids, watching the marches on television for civil rights.
Yeah.
And it was so hard for her to be sitting at home and watching on television. She wanted to be counted.
She wanted to be in there. She wanted to stand up for people's rights. She wanted to be with people and show love and solidarity. And also she and her first husband as well also had health, mental health issues that arose, and eventually, she took the kids and she was in the projects on food stamps, working part-time, bringing food home from the restaurant where she was working to feed the kids. Sometimes they didn't have electricity. I mean, you know, so I feel like these stories live in us. We received them in a really profound way. And I don't have the answer exactly to how to convey some of that, to others who didn't get that, and to kind of just help deepen the understanding of what,
Yeah.
what happened not that long ago.
Yeah.
And what we're kind of, maybe we're trying to overcompensate for, but coming back to the body. I know that I know you know this, and so many people who might be listening to this, I know we know this, but art, this is we have a body. Like, this is the house of our soul. It is a feeling apparatus. It's not numb to violence. It is not numb to the things which come at us. And as women, I think so much in our healing work, when we are working with women one-on-one or in groups, so much of the healing that gets done in those spaces is women getting safe enough to be able to process the violations that have occurred. And I think that there is still a profound lack of sensitivity in the way that we are able to communicate with our brothers in particular, but also with our sisters, with our own selves, as we try to untangle this stuff.
Yeah.
That these violations, like when other people treat our body as a thing that they own and they have agency and license to, the violence and the thing that is inflicted upon us, it's not a thing that, like, it's not like you get a scrape and you put a Band-Aid on it and it heals in a couple weeks and you get on with your life. These are things which change the trajectory of our lives. My mother, who is 86 years old, God bless her, she was abused by the priest in her Catholic school when she was 7, 8, 9 years old. And he gave her money when she walked out of the office. That experience never left my mother into her 70s, into her early 80s. My mother had a piece of paper tucked into her bathroom mirror until a couple of years ago that said, "You are not that girl."
Oof.
So, when I came home after being away for so long, all my mother wanted to talk about was, did I tell you that I finally sent a letter to the church diocese? Did I tell you, did I show you this poem that I wrote? And so I had to sit in that with my mother, as an old woman, as an elder, still like a baby bird.
Mm.
And what I say this both because, you know, I say this because what that lack of understanding that these things stunt our creative process. They stunt our ability to be in healthy relationships. They stunt our ability to enjoy our lives fully, where somebody else does a thing and then they forget about it and then they're off doing whatever else they're doing and they don't realize the wake that they've left. So when we're trying to assert that we have the right to have a say so
Yeah.
over our own body, this is what we're talking about. It's not 2 weeks, it's not a month, it's not a year, it's a life.
Mm.
And I'll just close that window there by saying, you know, it was because that wound was passed to me as part of my healing, my lineage, my life and her life and this line. It was a deep honoring for me to be able to say, hey mom, we did something about this.
Mm.
Thank you for telling me that you sent that letter. And I want you to know that here in Ireland, we now have Bridget's Day. And we
Yeah.
have Bridget's Day because women said that there need to be reparations for what has happened to the women and the children. And this is the way we're going to start doing that for real. And every girl and every little boy that I see in the street that are celebrating Bridget's Day, and the crosses over every door and the cloaks in every window and the women having their art shows and their gallery exhibitions, and all of them bringing through an aspect of Bridget, the feminine. I'm getting chills everywhere. And being able to say to my mom, we did something about it.
Yeah.
And while she was in the hospital, I know this is quite personal, but I know it's okay. I took that piece of paper off the mirror
Mm.
and I folded it up. I didn't throw it away, but in case she asked for it, but I tucked it
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
and I replaced it with a picture of Bridget.
Mm-hmm.
The Magdalene laundries. So the way that we are restoring Magdalene, restoring respect for the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Isn't it so ironic that they called them the Magdalene laundries? You know, we'll just we'll just shove the young women away, put them out of sight, and work them to the bone, sometimes to the death. Yeah, yeah. Oof.
yeah, thank you for just allowing
Yeah.
that.
Mother Sally, so lucky to have you. You know, to have someone who knows how to sit with others, you know, like you're real good at that, Mama. You're real good at that. Yeah, she's lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, the tough one to be there for our loved ones in those ways. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's easier to be with, be with our sisters. Sometimes it's really hard to be with our moms and our grandmas. And
Well, because you are, you really are facing that, energetic of what you're holding. I have been fully aware of my whole life of being afraid of men and 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 knowing, being raised with the knowing that before I was born my mother was raped and had an abortion from that rape, and then I was conceived in that space. And how to and my father brought me and my sister to this kind of profound chiropractor but healer guy in Arizona, and my father like brought it up in while the man was working on me, and I was laughing with every adjustment because I couldn't cry. because I hadn't connected to that piece. I was only like 8 or 9. Like, how could I? You know? But it was when I, and that was also the same time that like my grandfather died, and there was all of this stuff, and I started being the chubby girl, and it was just like having this awareness of like, this is how I protect myself, And when I was the most fit, when you and I met, and working in New York City and getting attention again, I was like, oh, not again, but like literally for the first time, and oh, this is why we hide. This is why men make us afraid. This is why we're uncomfortable. And not just the cat calls, but that was also when I experienced, assault, and just like, no wonder I have padded myself so that I wouldn't get attention, right? And so there's like this line that we walk as women of like, is it safe to be as beautiful as I am? Is it safe for me to be myself? And is it safe for my children? And what kind of warnings do I have to give my daughters? And how do I talk to my son? And all of these different ways that we're also like now coming into the prevalence of the divine feminine coming back in such an empowered way. I watch these other Magdalene priestesses and leaders and how they hold themselves and how they speak and how they love, and I'm just like, okay, more of that, like more of that unconditional love, that loving presence, that what would love do. And that's the journey, right? Like, to walk with Mary, to walk with the Magdalene, is to walk the path of love. And that's how we refer to it, because it's not the path of the Christ. It's not about an avatar. And she doesn't want to be your avatar either, like she's just like, I want you to be yourself, right? Like that would be her message. And, and it's always been, remember who you are, right? Remember who you are. Remember who you are. That was like our mantra when we were like coming up with like business ideas and t-shirt phrases and all these different things, remember who you are. And that's the goal, right? Like that's the goal. And yeah, so even through, whether we have resentment, and I really appreciate the comments. I don't know if you can see the comments.
Oh.
In the top right corner, there's a button that says comments, and then you'll be able to see the comments. But, Jessica shared, I have also struggled with the resentment born of my ambition and my love for my children feels like being two people at once. Oh my God. And Scott is, commending us for our strength, and that his heart feels buoyant and full just by witnessing and being present with us. And so, there's.
Thank you.
We're not, none of us are having this experience on our own. And the men are processing it too. And Scott is such a big, beautiful heart. It's like one of the safe men in the world, and it's so wonderful to remember that the men are also remembering themselves too. And we had to come first. This is what I think. That we have to remember ourselves first, so that we can lovingly hold that unconditional love while the men go through what they need to go through to remember themselves, and to have the programming and the warring and all of this, being extracted from them Anaya Sophia, or Alethea is what she's going by now. I watched a video of hers, ages ago, about removing the war from men and just being with them, and literally just being with them and pulling it out energetically, touching them, being soft, all of these things, and just pulling it out, And it's like, oh gosh, we actually have to do that for the world. How do we do that for the world? And maybe it's one man at a time. There are some really profound men who are holding groups for men to come back into their sovereignty, into their divine masculine, and more, please. Yes, and then some. Yes, more, please.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. We need you. We need you.
I only know the name of one organization, the Sacred Sons, and they're quite, seem like they're pretty popular. But also I can imagine that, like, my husband would be so intimidated by entering into a men's retreat. Like, he is not that guy, and like, he's shy, he's introverted, he's self-conscious, right? And so there's just like, how do you reach the men who haven't reached themselves yet? These are the questions. Because the Magdalene, like I shared earlier, she's like, oh, here's one of your initiations. This is the partnership you signed up for, And I even had a woman who has, like, not romantic history, but has history with my husband. Who I know her very well. I have a lot of love for her. And, that was before we were together, their history. And she's like, why are you with him? And I was like, do I have to defend my husband right now? Like, or defend my feelings? Or, like, because the question was like, are you a crazy person? Why are you married to that man? It was like, obviously you don't know him. Or else you wouldn't be asking that question, because if you were to know him, you would know how wonderful and kind and beautiful and caring he is, right? And how hardworking. I don't know anyone with a greater work ethic than my husband. Even when the world won't give him the job he wants, he's just like, oh, we'll work very hard, until he's like, and he has chronic pain, and he works through his chronic pain so that he can provide, so there's like, like this gross, this is kind of a gross question, but I'll tell you all of the things that are wonderful, right? So if we're carrying around beliefs that men are a certain way, we're not providing them the opportunity to shift or grow. This is my lesson right now, watching him in his own awakening. Because I'm, like, for years, I've always felt like, how can I be with somebody when I feel like I'm so much further along on this journey? And he's, someone that we would call uninitiated in this life. But he's had his own initiations. It's not for me to say what they are. Right? I know what initiation looks like for me, but he has his own. And so it's like this, we have to tend to ourselves, remember ourselves, so that, right? So that they can as well, and return that divine masculinity into its proper place, which patriarchy and capitalism has shoved into total inversion of what is real, what is really divine within that.
I hear very clearly in that, that how much our being and our ability to hold our own center is required for them to feel safe as well. you know, I think that's a tricky one for a lot of us to navigate and negotiate and to even really kind of get. And I think it's a good one. It's a valuable one to give attention to, that particular point in relationality and our own being and our way of being for them, for ourselves, and for them.
It's a reality I've had to face. You know, we've had couples counseling, and I, you know, it's my softening that makes it safe for him to be himself. Because if I'm not soft, I'm resistant to whatever it is that he is experiencing. No, you can't feel that way, or I'm defensive, or. And I've had to learn how to drop all of my defenses and just be present with him where he is, and not judge, and just love him right there in his truth, and respond from that place, right? It's taken a couple years. We just had our 7-year anniversary, you know, of being married, and I'm like, oh, I've come a long way, baby, and like, and pat myself on the back, and we talk about that. I'm like, do you feel emotionally safer, you know, than you used to feel, you know? Because I can be really fucking intense, and I can be scary. So, yeah.
Long time. We know each other, you know, I know the things we know the things we struggle with intimately that way. And
Yeah.
their life journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to say that, like, to that question around, like, you know, where are we going with it all? I mean, I'd like to think, you know, listening to some of what you're saying and sort of the progress and process that you've been in, and some of what I hear from other friends around me and people like on this path in different ways, it does feel like maybe we've actually have stepped up the conversation a notch. Like, I feel like we've been at the bottom of the barrel for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And there's just this like glimmer of hope kind of right now crossing this threshold as we open this doorway that we're entering in, and the descent of Sophia coming down into this earth plane with us, and basking, getting to bask in that love. And we know that this is a potent time of transformation, so I'll take that opportunity to speak into that I hope that that's the direction that we're going.
Yeah.
That we're at this place where our communication is just a little bit more rooted, capable, just a little bit more, I was going to say sophisticated. That may not be the right word exactly, but that our capacity, right?
Hopefully sophisticated.
Maybe we have accomplished, maybe we have achieved just one, even if it's one step.
Mm-hmm.
And that this conversation that we can have with our partners, our relations, maybe we're just a little bit further up the spiral than we have been for the last good long while. And so, yeah, that's my hopefulness, that piece around, like, how can we live our lives in ways that are meaningful to us and which are whole, that have our partners and our children and our vocations and our creativity, and that it can all be there, and that we aren't in the repetition of the stories that have been handed to us. I mean, I know this is our focus in many ways,
Yeah.
which is us. How do I break the pattern? How do I come into living my life the way my ancestors prayed for me to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really I really come back to that a lot. Like, our ancestors prayed for us to have different lives than they had, to have easier lives, more
Yeah.
fulfilling lives, more loving lives, more free. And so how can I honor that prayer that my ancestors made for me to live? Um, and so I hope that this conversation continues in this direction of like,
Yeah.
how are we resourced? I hate hearing, oh, my husband didn't. He's like, well, what about me? He doesn't even know how to find those resources for himself. Like, that makes my heart hurt. That makes me sad to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, that's I like, how can we like really come into that realization of this modern village, and how can we do it maybe in a way that isn't always about the cost of childcare? Like, how be more liberated, that we're not trying to figure out how to make more money to pay for more things, but how can we
Yeah.
just focus on, how can we just get those needs met
Right.
in functionality,
Right.
in, as you said, what was the word you used at the beginning of your description of like of that vulnerability, of that safety, that wasn't providership, but it was,
Oh,
uh,
I can't remember now. Mm.
yeah, but having provisions,
Provision.
provisions, like having those basic needs met, so that we're not living uh so that we're not living in a constant state of anxiety, depression, stress. Nothing is enough. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. We
Yeah.
are just a perpetual state of stress. And as you said, the way that we become fully capable is when we rest and we're resourced, and then we are abundantly flowing with
Yeah.
all that we have to give. And that's what I prefer. That's
Mm.
what I ask.
And let it be so. May it be so.
So it
Is. Yeah.
is.
It's a beautiful way to end this conversation. I'm so grateful for it, and I want it to keep going. I want more. Will you come back, please? Will you?
Yeah. 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 Thank you for inviting. Thank you for asking me to.
Yeah. I, for some reason, I like to just spend this time of just me just chatting away, and like, I don't actually have a guests very often, but I know that I ought to, because I can just sound like a broken record sometimes, and I'd rather actually have a conversation, deep conversation. I know that's the only kind of conversation you know how to have. So I'm so grateful. And I would like to make a request. And, I know that, you mentioned Brazil in the very beginning when we were talking about Oshumare, and I'm just like, here is the rattle that Shannon brought back from Brazil for me on that trip. That is one of my most precious talismans, partners in music. And will you please sing a song? Will you close us out by singing a song? Usually I sing a song or two, and I would really love it if you could. And I want to say the flame is still going, even though it looks like it's not. It's a little baby flame. It's still there. So no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. Oh, gosh. Oh my goodness. I'm waiting for you to bust out singing Osho Yamaja.
I wish that the the sound would work that we could both sing at the same time. But maybe we could sing Twin Stars.
I mean, that's what you said you wanted to. Is it going to echo? Is it going to be all weird?
It's gonna echo. So you can sing it along internally, and I can sing it, or you can sing it. But so this is a hymn, and you know, in the Daimi, they refer to the medicine songs as hymns. And I received this when our boyfriends at the time were living together, and Shannon and I were new friends, and I was like, this girl's my bestie. Of course, we didn't have bestie back then. I was like, this girl's my best friend. I don't know what's happening, but this girl's my best friend. And I think we might have had a little work that evening, a little one, and then that night I received this hymn. So this is for all of the sisters from that time and all of the circles that we've been in together. This is also for all of the brothers who are working on themselves and who are open to receiving the divine love from the sisterhood, and to all of the nature spirits. And I name some of the orishas, and we can talk more about orishas at another time. I'd really love to just talk about the orishas. So, and those of you going to the Dragon Circle will be a couple minutes late because I have something right after this. We are twin stars shining in the celestial sea, traveling through the skies we shall forever be. We are twin stars shining in the celestial sea, traveling through the skies we shall forever be. We came here to this earth to share the divine light with our brothers and our sisters who are engaged in pride. We came here to this earth to share the divine light with our brothers and our sisters who are engaged in pride. We are cleansed by the chalice of our Holy Sovereign Mother Incarnate Magdalene to help heal all our brothers. We are cleansed by the chalice of our Holy Sovereign Mother Incarnate Magdalene to help heal all our brothers. We sing of the forest, the flowers, and the trees, giving praise to Jurema. Her breath is in the breeze. We sing of the forest, the flowers, and the trees, giving praise to Jurema. Her voice is in the breeze. We travel on the ways of our mother Yemanja, so that we can heal our bodies in the light of Oshala. We travel on the waves of our mother Yemanja, so that we can heal our bodies in the light of Oshala. We are twin stars shining in the celestial sea, to guide and to be guided we shall forever be. We are twin stars shining in the celestial sea, to guide and to be guided we shall forever be. I know I usually sing it twice, but we're out of time. Oh, now she's like, oh, but there's one more song. And this is always what
I'm not going to do that to you. Good, I know. But I wanted to just close. I wanted to close with just a line from the manuscript that we read yesterday in our women's circle as we did the ritual for pouring the water. And when you do the ritual to cross the threshold from the mundane to the sacred, the words that Magdalene gave us to speak are this: Spirit of all life, be my witness here.
Recording in progress.
Sorry.
Spirit of all life, be my witness here. For the sake of my own elevation, and the elevation of all life. I shall strive to be harmless to myself and all others.
Mhm.
And by the pouring of this water, I signify the transfer of my sacred waters of life from the mundane to the sacred, spirit of all life, by my witness here. Amen. Amen. Ashe.
Ashe. Blessed be. Thank you so much. What page is that on? What page?
67.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. So much more conversation to come. Thank you to our friends who've been present with us, coming in and out, or present the whole time. We're so grateful. Thank you for your presence. And thank you to all of the divine ones who have held this space. We are so eternally appreciative. We release you. Stay if you will, go if you must. Blessed be. We'll see you again soon, my friend. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Love you so much.
Thanks.